day everyone. So now I will discuss to you the role of managers. So this is our topic 1 in financial controllership. So before we proceed, let's have first our chapter objectives. After studying this chapter, you should be able to first explain the role of management and the basic methods they use in their task. Number 2, describe the application of management principles to the accounting department. Number 3, explain the meaning of control and the way it affects the accounting department. And lastly, design and improve the layout of business forms. So our first topic is what is the job of management. We have the meaning and importance of control, the work of the accounting department, the role of budgetary control, and the financial practice and control. So first, what is the job of management? So we start by looking at the work of management, for it is they who are charged with responsibility for this work. We then see how the responsibility is delegated to the accounting department, and finally, we look at some areas of control. So with the growth in both size and complexity of business firms, the people who actually run a business have become separate from those who put up the money for it. In fact, this is one of the advantages of limited company form of organization, for it has permitted business to grow far larger than would otherwise have been possible. So people are able to invest money and need not be involved in the managing of the business, nor do they have to risk losing all their property if the company fails. So here are the areas of work of the management. So we will accept that managers are charged by the owners to run the firm on their behalf, and this includes the following. So first, in planning, one of the first things we expect management to do is to decide exactly what the firm will be trying to do and the way it will try to achieve these basic aims or objectives. In organizing, to achieve the objectives they have laid down, the management will need to employ people to carry out the necessary work. So if the employees are to work efficiently, then they must know what they are expected to do, who they must obey, and who is to work with them. The firm is actually organized into specialized departments in the way the management would think will be most helpful in carrying out the work. Next is the controlling and coordinating. Once the firm's plan and targets have been set out, then the work is done by the various departments concerned. With several groups of people are working at different locations, it becomes a problem to ensure that they are all reaching their targets and all are working towards the same end. So for example, it is important that all departments in a line work at the same speed, for if one works faster than the others, then not only will it swamp the next department in line, but the department before it may be totally unable to keep it supplied with work. So the management must therefore plan the work in a manner that keeps the whole system working efficiently. Next, we have communication. This involves letting the staff know what is happening and what is the firm's plans are. Much more attention is now paid to this area, but many managers who feel that they are busy to spend time in communicating their decisions properly do not realize the basic truth that their employees are clearly told what the basic aims of management are. Then they can make more useful decisions in line with those objectives. Next, the staffing and motivating. So in order to reach its objectives at the lowest cost, the firm needs to employ people to work towards the firm's goals without their efforts being frustrated. The investment in staff is very high, and it therefore pays to make every effort to obtain the best possible for the work and to spend time and effort training them to do the work required. Next, how management works. So management at all levels have to work done through other people. For managing involves realizing that one cannot do the whole of the firm's work oneself. So first thing that the management encourages the firm is specialization. So according to Adam Smith, an early economist, showed how production in a pin factory was greatly increased once the workers each specialized in one task rather than having one carry out the whole job. Next, one of the basic tasks of management and yet one of the most difficult to do well is delegation. So the good manager realizes that his time and his knowledge are limited, so he must pass on much of the work he is responsible for to his staff who are there to assist him. Another important thing manager must bear in mind when planning and organizing is the difference between responsibility and authority. So let me show you a video regarding how management works.
Important decisions an organization will need to make is how to get work done. Some organizations prefer a team structure or cross-functional structure where employees work collaboratively on tasks, often sharing responsibilities and job roles. Other organizations have employees specialize in individual tasks so that the workers become highly proficient in their specialized area. Work specialization, sometimes called a division of labor, refers to the degree to which an organization divides individual tasks into separate jobs. This lesson will explain the purpose of work specialization in an organization and how it is used to organize separate jobs. From the start, all companies must decide on an organizational structure. The organizational structure refers to the type of framework a company uses to distinguish power and authority, roles and responsibilities, and the manner in which information flows through the organization. Having a suitable organizational structure will allow a company to implement proper operating procedures and will aid the organization in accomplishing its goals. For some organizations, specialization is the answer. If you recall, work specialization, also called a division of labor, allows a manager to take complex tasks and break them down into smaller, more precise tasks that individual workers can complete. Each employee is trained explicitly on how to best perform one small, specific task.
So another video for delegation.
As a corporate trainer, I work with lots of leaders who are overwhelmed with work. They never seem to have enough time, and they always seem to have too much on their plate. But interestingly enough, when I ask them if they could delegate certain tasks, I usually get a litany of excuses. Like, if I give it to her, I won't be able to sleep at night. Oh, it's easier if I just do it myself. It'll take me longer to explain it than it will to just do it. I couldn't delegate that. I've always attended these meetings myself. They'd probably want me there. I hate to admit it, but I've been one of those leaders as well. A few years back, I had a light bulb moment that showed me the dangers of not delegating and the negative impact it can have, not just on the leader, but the entire team. This was my light bulb moment experience. I was driving home on a particularly hot and humid day. Traffic was horrible, and on the commute home, I started thinking about how this abrupt change in seasons meant that I now need to somehow carve out time in my schedule to shop for new clothes for my two kids, Ariana and Austin. But I'd also need to make time to clean out their closets, to pack up bags of clothes to donate to charity, to return the clothes they refused to wear throughout the year that still had tags on them, yada, yada, yada. It felt overwhelming. When I got home, I started venting to my poor husband while unloading the dishwasher. As he sat there listening to me complain about everything on my plate, all of a sudden, he interjected with a comment that shocked and terrified me at the same time. Out of nowhere, he said, "Well, I can just start buying the kids' clothes from now on." My brain went, "Ugh." Now, let me explain. I love my husband dearly, but he is one of the cheapest people on the planet, with the fashion sense of, well, let's just say he has many other gifts. These visions of my kids in completely crazy, ill-fitting outfits started racing through my head. And before I could think about what I was saying, I just blurted out 7 of the most dangerous words you can say to someone you love. I don't trust you to do that. Immediately, I could see his face drop and I could feel his disappointment. The reality is that he was just trying to help, and my blatant rejection only made the situation worse. Similarly, as leaders in the workplace, when we hog the work and we don't embrace or seek out opportunities for others to take things off our plate, everyone loses. We lose the opportunity to gain back some precious time. They are robbed of the opportunity to enhance and broaden their skills, and the rest of the team senses that their leader is distrustful of them. Communicating distrust is the last thing a leader would want to do, so why do we do it? In a word, fear. There's fear that they'll fail, fear that they'll make us look bad, fear that they won't complete the task like we would. And of course, our way is the right way. The solution lies in exploring these fears and learning tips for delegating the right way.
So now let's proceed to where does the accounting department fit into the structure. So the accounting department is one of the specialized departments set by the firm and will be headed by a chief accountant or finance director. So within the department, there will be a specialization into sections in a scalar chain of authority. So the department exists for 2 main reasons. So the first reason is that it is an important part of the day-to-day work of the firm. We need to keep clear and accurate records of the firm's dealings with outside bodies. Next, it provides information that the management needs in order to perform its roles. For example, it provides the figures needed for the budgeting and control, as well as providing information to assist with decision making. Next, the meaning and importance of control. Now, controlling means making sure that work proceeds in the way we want it to. However, before we can control anything, we must have some plan to tell us how we expect things to go. Therefore, controlling follows on from planning, and we meet the term in all aspects of life. Wherever we are involved with controlling anything, there is always a pattern of work which is referred to by academics as cybernetic loop. So these are the stages. First, set planning target. So the first stage always involves setting up the plan of what we wish to see happening. For without this, there can be no control. As an example, we could be planning the amount of goods the firm will produce in each month. Next, we have measuring the actual results. So to find out how things are proceeding as time goes on, we measure the actual results achieved in the current period. So in our example, the firm would monitor the units actually produced in the current month. Next, we have comparison of plan and actual results. So by comparing the 2 sets of figure, we can see whether we have exceeded or fallen below our target for the period. So now is the time to take any corrective action for the future. For the sooner we start to do this, the less disruptive it is likely to be. So in our example of production planning, we would compare the actual figures with the planned production, and if there was a shortfall, then by identifying it this early on, there will be several courses of corrective action available to us. For example, we might slightly increase planned output over the next few months, or work overtime, or buy in more finished units. So again, this cycle of work appears in many areas of life and not just in business. Next, we have the financial control and the responsibility for control. So in financial control, or in the financial side of the business, the need for control is very important for several reasons. In our dealings with outside firms, accuracy is vital, as we must ensure that we are not overcharged by creditors and that we follow up all that's due to us. So in the final accounts, we reflect the results of the year's trading and attempt to do so fairly. There are several areas where where items could be reasonably dealt within a number of ways. In such cases, the management makes certain policy decisions and staff are instructed to deal with these items in a certain way. However, we need to ensure that staff apply the official policies consistently. If this is not done, then the final accounts may be quite misleading. So next is the responsibility for control. The responsibility to run the business is in an orderly manner lies with the top management. And although they can do delegate this, nevertheless, the final overall responsibility lies with them. So like any other management task, the control needs to be planned and controlled. However, even once we have installed and started the system running, the job is not over. The system will be operated by people who will usually bend or ignore the rules for a variety of reasons, and so we must constantly monitor its operation to ensure that it is running properly. So this role is usually performed by the internal auditors, and they also suggest improvements that are needed, thus helping to keep the system up to date. So next we have the work of the accounting department. So we saw that the accounting department is one of the specialist departments set up to report the firm's progress and provide information to assist the management. So the main areas of its work will include the following. So we have here first the financial accounting. The management have to report back to the owners on the way they have to run the company. So this is called stewardship accounting. So at least once a year, the firm produces its financial accounts. This will also be used to agree the taxation liability with the inland revenue. Another important aspect of financial accounting role is the keeping of accurate records of the firm's indebtedness with outside bodies. In addition, they may also keep detailed records of the assets owned by the firm. Next, we have the management accounting. So managers need to make plans and take decisions between alternative courses of action. The information produced by the financial accounting system is historical information and is of very little help to the management. So through the management accounting section, the department will provide information on costs to assist with plans and decisions. In addition, they will keep very detailed records of stocks. Next we have is the control functions. So the importance of financial control has already been mentioned, and much of the work of the department will be involved with such control. One regular job is the reconciliation of the firm's cash records with the bank statements as a control over both our own cash office staff and the bank. In addition, there will be a regular reconciliation of the ledger balances with the control accounts. Next, we have the special investigation. So, from time to time, the department will be called upon to perform one-off jobs. The example of it is evaluating a large investment or producing information for a government department. It also includes accounting document analysis, financial condition review, fraud investigation, and more. So, the other term for this special investigation is forensic accounting. Next, we have the internal audit. So, their role is to act as the eyes and ears of management. And the work they do continues throughout the year. In some concerns, they are a section of the accounting department under the control of the chief accountant, but it is better that they are separate from the department and report to senior management. Otherwise, they are reporting to the chief accountant who is responsible for the work they are checking. Should any irregularity be identified, then they would be unable to take inquiries any further if he ordered them not to. Next, we have the management of the accounting department. So the basic rules of management, as outlined earlier in this chapter, also apply to the management of accounting department itself. So first, we have the specialization. The department's work is very varied, and we can obviously increase efficiency by making staff specialize in a section of the work. So you will see later that this also helps to improve control. The other one is the organization. So the department will be organized into sections in the manner that management feels will best assist it to do the work that it needs to do. We will need a hierarchy of supervisors and managers, and all staff need to know the person that they report to. So through specialization and organization, we can also provide the necessary backup services. So it should be stressed that the form of organization is designed in order to help the staff perform their duties efficiently. The actual organization structure will therefore differ from firm to firm depending on a wide variety of factors like size, type of work, and staff available. So we have here an example of organizational chart. So this is just an example of a scalar chain and should not be seen as a standard for all firms. Staffing is an important area of work and affects the accounts department as well as any other. So these days, the subject is becoming... So we have here first the finance director. Under him is the chief accountant. Next, under the chief accountant, we have the financial accountant and the management accountant. For the financial accountant to perform his duty well, he must have his subordinates. So we have here the office manager, and under the office manager, the accounts clerk, machine operators, cash office, wages office. At the same time, under management accountant, we have the budgetary and reporting action and the cost office. So as to managerial efficiency, management needs to be both effective and efficient. So to be effective means that it managed to achieve its objectives, while to be efficient means that it does so with the minimum use of resources. This applies to the accounting manager as much as to any other manager in the firm. So the effectiveness of the financial control systems is regularly tested by both internal and external auditors to examine it and report on the weaknesses. The efficiency aspect is rather more complex. Sometimes the internal auditors will do some work in this area, and in larger firms, there is very often an organization and methods specialist department whose role is to look specifically at the efficiency of administrative systems. Next we have is the design of forms. So despite widespread feelings to the contrary, business forms are used within systems to assist staff in gathering the information they need rather than to hinder them. So they should be designed as a part of the total system and should ask for the information that the system needs to operate. So in many organizations, you will find forms that seem to do very little work and others that ask for information which is not needed for the firm's work. So the main purpose of designing forms is to increase efficiency by speeding up data recording and reducing errors. So to do this, we must do the following. Group together all items of similar nature, and if possible, lay out the document in such a way that the flow of items on it reflects the order in which the information is obtained. Next, bear in mind the conditions under which the work will be performed and the type of person who will complete it. For example, what is suitable for completion by a skilled clerical worker in a warm office may be totally unsuitable for use by mechanic finishing a repair in the firm's workshop. Next, encourage short, precise, and unambiguous answers to request for information. And lastly, ensure that if the form is to be punched and stored on a file, it must be arranged and avoid placing in an area that might damage the file. So we have here the face of a form or the sales report. Let me show you. So we have here the invoice number, the company, date of sale, address, or this is the face of the form that the business uses. Together with the lecture note, I will give you a copy of this sale report or sales report form. So next we have the role of budgetary control. So much of our later work will be involved with the day-to-day controls that operates in all sections of the business. But before that, we must look at a form of overall control used by the management to ensure that their objectives are achieved and highlight the areas where things are going wrong. So we have here the cost accounting and budgeting. So in detail, we have the financial practice and financial control. So financial practice looks at the problems that face the firm in accounting for its business and the techniques adopted to deal with this. Next is the financial control, looks at the areas of internal control that are concerned with ensuring the accuracy of the financial records and which aim to avoid errors and fraud. So again, systems will differ from firm to firm and will depend upon many factors. However, the main principles are common to most concerns ranging from profit-making companies through the public authorities. In each of the chapters, we will try to look at the main problems and techniques used to deal with them and then go on to look at the internal control aspects of that area.